Hey, Winston here. We are here to break down this deal that Nick got for me to look at. Somebody sent it to him, want him to check it out. I don't know who sent it, but I don't think they've done the research yet, or maybe they still don't know how. So we're gonna break it down to give everybody a better grasp on how to break these deals down. We're gonna break a little bit down here. We're gonna eventually go look at the house. We'll go do some different stuff. But this is the house. It doesn't look like a bad house. So as we're looking at that, does that look dirty or is that paint?
It's not a white wall. It is cream.
My first impression is it looks like they came in because they've got looks like some new VCT flooring right here. Looks like ceramic back there. That ceramic's gonna be outdated. This is all outdated. You know, if you're gonna rehab a house and sell it, I'm assuming it's been rehabbed a little bit, but if you're gonna rehab a house and sell it, it's those little finishing touches, and they're not wanting a little bit of money. They're wanting, what, $475,000 for this house. So this is a very expensive house.
Looks like they did the floors.
Well, I will tell you what I think the blue tape is for. I think they had somebody come in and paint it, maybe do some drywall repair. They did all the work, and then they came back and they put in blue tape where they need things corrected, because we'll do a blue tape walkthrough whenever we sell a house or something, if it's something new that we've done. So that's probably what we're looking at.
Little
right
imperfections.
So this has probably been painted. This is probably fairly new. Kitchen cabinets, I mean, if you want $475, I mean, that kitchen cabinet, that drawer's falling off right there.
Right.
Just
a lot of scuff
the
marks.
Trash on the refrigerator. The lights are falling out of the ceiling. Are they not?
They are falling
They are
out.
falling out of the ceiling.
Outdated.
It's outdated, grimy. I mean, you can pull the doors off, fix the doors, change the hinges, paint the cabinets, and make those cabinets look really good. You can make them pop.
Those cabinets, that one on the bottom right's tilted.
But they have not, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
Not a fan of the tile either.
I like ceramic tile. I got it throughout my whole entire house, but that's the problem with ceramic tile. It's in today, out tomorrow. You know, you got one style today, a different style tomorrow, and it never holds.
They got a nice stove though. Like, that's a newer stove.
Could be. Ooh. Okay, so if you're gonna take pictures of it, I would clean this area up, number one. I mean, I'm assuming there's bugs all over the floor. That's falling apart.
That looks like a room in an insane asylum.
I don't know what that is, but
I'm surprised it has a window.
that might be the dining room. I don't know. So they've spent money rehabbing this house.
Oh yeah, it is halfway done. Those windowsills, the flooring, painting.
But that's the problem. You get half of it done and you don't finish it. You know, that is.
They did the rooms, but they didn't do the most expensive
I mean,
things.
that's an original light. That's a very old light. I mean, I don't know. Our stuff is just different. I mean, I'm very peculiar about how we do things.
Okay, that looks like kind of a remodel.
Look like they did a good job on the bathroom, except that's white and that is not.
Oh, you need a white wall with a white door? You can't do a cream wall with a white door?
Well, you can do what you want to do. I'm just looking at this. See this light switch?
Oh.
See this right here? This receptacle?
Oh, yep.
They're not the same color.
They're not the same.
So now you can say, well, that's just old. Okay, if it's not the same
Then
color,
change it
replace
out.
it. It's a, $4 change. The mirror. I mean, when people are looking at, I'm paying $500,000 for a house. So let's do some math real quick. That house is what? 1,997 square foot. So we got $475,000 divided by 1997 square foot. 237, almost $238 a square foot. You're pushing something that if it was a brand spanking new house, you're paying that. You know.
I could build cheaper than that.
Oh, you could build a whole lot cheaper than that. You know, little boob lights right there. They don't. The room's gonna be dark. You gotta have a lamp in there now. Outdated. You can see they could come in and color the grout and make the grout look better. I mean, it's dingy. It's dirty.
Yeah.
It's grimy. And I would have to put some high top shoes on to put something on that tile rack, probably. Does it not look tall?
Yeah.
It looks a little tall.
You're gonna need a stool.
I mean, what are they freaking drying off with? A sheet? Look at that.
Look at
the drawer.
Yeah, the whole vanity
But
is...
they all match though. That's good. Okay, so the back side of the house. You feeling it?
Nah, it looks like my grandma's house. I'm not sure if
I don't think they're ever going to get $475 for that house.
I mean, today people are trying to get whatever they can get.
Well, I don't blame it. I mean, you got to get it. We're going to go look at it. I mean, it's in Goodlettsville. $500,000 right now. So what's that house going to cost at $500,000?
Like if you're financing it, how much 30 years later did you end up paying for it?
Yeah, I mean, they got a $5,000 a month note pretty much on it.
Yeah, and after 30 years, you paid $1.2 million for it.
Well, it needs new garage doors. It needs a lot of stuff done to it. I would paint that brick. I would have to give it a facelift. I'm not a fan of going in and painting a bunch of brick, but I would paint it to make it look fresh, make it look new.
Because that's obviously an older brick coloration.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know when that house was built.
1973.
1973. That's a lot of money for a 1973 house.
Yeah, we didn't even get to see the plumbing.
So I'm gonna pull this right here up. So I went to rentcafe.com, and if you Google and you look for market rent in your area, you'll have a bunch of different websites that'll show up. It won't just be one. But you can go in here. I can put the average rent for Goodlettsville, Tennessee, and they're saying it's $1,502 for 989 square feet. So what I like to do is, because we always talk about, number one, right now with interest rates where they are, you can't buy for under 1% and make any money. And you can barely make any money at 1%. So let's see what the rent will be. So that rent right there, $989. So what I would do, and what I do is I would take the $1,502 and I would multiply that times 12, and that's gonna give me $18,024 a year that I can make off of that. Then I'm gonna divide that $18,024 by 989 square feet. So this house is renting for, or they're saying the average rent in Goodlettsville is $18.22 a square foot. As I look at properties in Goodlettsville, that number ranges from what I see a lot, around $17 a square foot up to about $21 a square foot. 21 is on the high side, 17 is on the lower side, 18 at $18 a square foot at that. Now, why do we need to look at that? Does that hold true across the spectrum of everything? It does a lot on the rental properties. Now, it will change a little bit. The bigger the house, probably the less you're gonna get per square foot. You got bigger bedrooms, you got bigger kitchen, you got bigger living room, you're probably gonna get less money per square foot for that than you will on the other one. Because if I got a 1,000 square foot house and I rent that 1,000 square foot house for $1,800 a month, and you got a 3,000 square foot house, proportionately, you're gonna rent that 3,000 square foot for maybe $2,500 a month, but you're not gonna rent it out for that much more. So you're not getting the bang for your buck with a larger square foot plan. Now, maybe what you get with a larger square foot plan is you may wind up getting a tenant that stays in your rental property longer because it's a bigger house, they can breathe, they're not congested, they like the area, they like this, they like that. You can always have a different selling point that makes you hold tenants longer, and you say, well, I would rather hold the tenants longer and have this right here than to go out and have a smaller house and have turnover every 24 months. Choice is yours, choice is yours. So let's go to here. So the price was $475. So that's the price of the house. Okay, so let's see. If we did the 1% rule and multiply it times 1%, then we would say, what's the rent got to be? $4,700 a month?
Correct. $4,750.
$4,750 a month?
Which is a lot to rent.
Nobody's gonna rent it for that, right?
Right.
Ain't nobody renting for that. I mean, hell, you can rent $1 million condo for that pretty much. So it's.
You have to make a lot of money and have a really low credit score to not just go buy something.
So let's just break that down a little bit. I'm just gonna do this as all cash, okay? So we're gonna break this deal down paying all cash and see. So what we want on all cash would be you making that decision. If I had $500,000 that I could invest, and I invest it in a property, how much money do I need to get out of that property to make it worth my investment? What percent?
Oh, I would shoot for 8 to 12.
8 to 12%.
Cash on cash return.
Okay. So I'm gonna say if we can get 7% cash on cash, I'd be happy. But not cash on cash, but for a cap rate or for my return on investment. But that would be just cash flow. That's 7%, not the other additional stuff. But we'll look at that both ways too. We can close this right here, 4%, right? So closing cost 4%. Closing cost at 4%. So we're gonna say 475 times 4%. That's gonna be $19,000. So my question is, do we have to do any work to this house? I would.
Yes.
If I bought that house, I would have to do some work to it. So let's say I got to put an additional $20,000 in it. Okay, what you think? If it doesn't, I mean, you want a great tenant, you got to have that great looking house too. I mean, so let's say I was going to put $20K in it.
It might just be repairing the
kitchen. Well, I mean, the roof ain't new. It don't look new at least. So our total all in number. So let's say we're able to buy it for $475.
$515,000.
So we got $514,000 all in. Now, we're going to do the 1% rule. We're no longer looking at this number, right? So now we're going to do it right there, 1%. So now we got to get $5,140, right?
So much, yes.
Let's look at it. Let's see what it looks like. So the rest of it's fairly simple. You know, we want to cover our cost. So what do we have on cost? We have property management, right? Property management.
Maintenance,
We have maintenance.
legal, and accounting.
Vacancy factor.
Vacancy factor. What? We just made a video on that yesterday. Damn.
I put the vacancy factor on the other part, but we'll leave it there. We'll put it down here. It doesn't matter. It's just an expense. He's got to take it off of the income there. I put it on the expenses, one or the other.
Gotcha.
We're still missing something. We're missing property management. We're going to say 8%, right?
Right.
So let's do our total. If it's 5,100, which we're never going to get 5,100 for rent.
No.
All right. So what's this house right here at $20 a square foot? Well, it's giving us what they think the market rent is. Let's just see. Let's do it at $20 a square foot. Let's say you can get 20 a square foot for it, which is a high number. It's a good number. 1997 times 20. That's going to be $39,000 a year, right? So property management is going to be 8% of that. So $39,940. I'm sorry, $39,940 times 8% is going to give us. For the property management, we're going to put right here, and that's going to be $31.95. Maintenance, we're going to figure everything is done. So we put another $20,000 into it. Everything will be good on that house. So we'll figure maintenance is about $500 a year. Legal and accounting, we use the same numbers all the time, about $400.
$300 to $400, and
Yep.
if you don't end up spending either the maintenance or the $400 in legal accounting, then it goes towards your cash flow for the year.
So the vacancy factor, we'll take that $39,940 and multiply it times 0.07. That's going to give us $27,958 for vacancy factor. So that gives us the vacancy factor at $2,795 a year. So $2,795, and that's at 7%. Okay, so we're going to use 7% vacancy. That's going to give it to us. Now, if we had any type of capital expenditure, let's say we had something coming up in 5 years. If there was something coming up and I need to put a roof on the house in 5 years, that roof's going to cost me 10 grand. Then what I would do is I would put capital expenditure here, and I would expense that over a 5-year period of time, and I would have a monthly number right here, or a yearly number right here that I would throw into a checking account every single year until I got all the money to put the roof on the house. That way I don't have to come at one last minute, do a loan for the house or for the roof. I want to be able to get that roof done. I want to pay cash for it, and I want to save up to do it. I don't want to go borrow to do it. I don't want to pay the interest. We're still missing something on our board here. What are we missing, Nick?
We're missing property taxes and insurance.
Property taxes and insurance. So property taxes, insurance. I would call my insurance company and I would verify the insurance on there. Let's see what this is telling us, the taxes and all are, and we'll go from there.
And for Goodlettsville specifically, every city is a little bit different.
A little bit. So the property taxes in 2023 is $26.12, but that is not going to be our property taxes. So we need to take $475. Let's take out $75,000. So we're going to use $400,000, and we're going to divide that by 1,000, which is 400. That tax rate might be about $350 county and city. Okay. I'm going to stick with the $2,600. I don't think that will hit it. I think it's going to miss it. All right, so now we got to figure out property taxes. I don't want to use what they got here. What they got here is $2,500 a year in property taxes. That's not going to work when we pay $475,000. So I've already wrote this on here, so let's go back down here and I did the math real quick. So we got the house at $475,000. We're going to take $75,000 off of it. We're going to call that the land. Maybe the land itself has the value of $775,000. That puts the house itself at $400,000. So we get to use whenever they do it. We're gonna multiply that house times 25%. So around here, your property taxes is 25% of the value of the home. Where if it's a commercial home, it's 40%. So if you're dealing with a commercial thing, your property tax is gonna be a lot higher than they are for a residential. So as a residential deal here, that property tax is $400,000 times 25% gives us $100,000. So they're going to do the property taxes on a yearly basis, or starting out off of this $100,000 number. So they're going to take that $100,000 and you pay per $100 of value of that. So if you divide that by 100,000 by 100, you're gonna get 1,000. And the actual property taxes in Davidson County taxes are a little bit higher than Sumner County. So I'm gonna put $4 as the tax rate. It may be a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but just give me a good number. So I'm gonna put $4,000 as property taxes. So that's how we do it. We take the total amount, we take the land out of it, then we take the total amount of the value of the home itself. We multiply it times 25% because that's what they require you to pay tax on, 25% of the assessed value. Then you got 100,000 divided by $100 because you pay per $100 of value on that home. That's $1,000. 1,000 times $4, what they charge over there for property taxes is going to be $4,000. So we're going to come over here and we're going to put that right there under our property taxes. Now we're going to put 4,000 on property taxes. And insurance, I was looking at one of my other properties earlier. Insurance is about $2,200 a year right now, so I'm gonna put $2,200. Now, if I was going to buy the house, I would definitely have this number verified with an insurance company. I would not just stop at that. I would make sure, because that could go up $200 or $300 more or less, and then you're stuck with that if you're barely not cash flowing and you haven't done your numbers on that insurance. You guess it, now you're in trouble. You haven't done the numbers on your property taxes, you're in trouble. You can't do that. Please be careful with that kind of stuff. So now we need to add all these numbers together. $31.95 plus 500 plus 400 plus 27.95 plus 4,000 plus 2,200. So that's 6,200. So if we got 6,200, we got the rent up here at 39,000 a year. Let's take out the 6,200. Now remember, we pay cash for this, so there's no note on it, okay? So we got 6,200. At the $6,200 number, we got to subtract that from the rent. So we got 39,940 minus 6,200 is going to give us 33,740. Nick, when I asked you earlier, how much money do you want to make? Your answer was a lot.
Yeah.
A lot is not the answer, because this is a lot. But
Yeah.
we'll use Jason Hartman's concept and we'll say, compared to what is it a lot? So if we are investing $514,000, so we take the 33,740 and we divide that by 514,000. That's going to give us 6.5%.
That's pretty low. I mean, that inflation alone,
it is,
it
but
covers inflation.
it is, but $33.28 rental, right? So if the rent's $39,000, that's $3,300 a month. I don't know that house would ever rent for $3,300 a month.
It's actually not that bad.
According to Zillow says it's going to rent for what?
20 something.
I think it was 2,800.
You can get a renter for 33 though.
You think so?
I
Okay.
think so.
So that's 6.5%. I don't think that that's bad. Okay. So let's go back to here. So we're making what? 33,000, right? 33,740. Cash flow. Okay. Return on investment, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now we got a house that's worth, let's say it's worth, we put the other 20,000. Let's say it's only worth 510. Or let's say it's worth 520. So if it's worth 520, let's take 520,000 and let's multiply that times, let's just use 5%. That's 26,000 there, right? In appreciation, if it's 5%. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think that house would hold 5%, because I think you are really stretching the price on this house right now. But we're just doing our numbers if the numbers all made sense.
Because it's already older. And
But if appreciation is 5%, appreciation is still 5%. That's going to be appreciation. Now we got depreciation. I don't know how I got that box there, but I got one. Somehow I got a box. So as far as the depreciation goes, so we'll take 514, and we're going to take the 514 divided by 27.5, and that's going to give us 18,690 a year we can write off on taxes. And let's say that we do that, and we multiply that times a 0.24 tax bracket. That's going to be $4,000. So you'll be $44.85. So the $44.85 is money you're going to get back on your taxes. It's money you're not going to pay in taxes that you would have had to pay. So this is realized. This is realized. This is unrealized income that actually shows up whenever you sell it or do a cash out refi. So we got appreciation, depreciation, cash flow. Now there is no principal reduction, so we can't throw a principal reduction in there because there's no note on it.
But that 4,485 that you get back on your taxes, that's not only if you're a real estate professional. That's everybody.
So you can use it against this individual property, okay? If you're not a real estate professional. If you want to use it across your ordinary income, then you have to be a real estate professional. So basically, if you're making $33,000 a year profit off of it, you would pay taxes on that $33,000 worth of profit, right?
Right.
So when you pay in your tax on that $33,000 profit, now you get to write off, what was it, $18,000, whatever we said it was?
Yeah.
That you get to write off every year. That so now you're not paying taxes on that profit that you would have paid. So it's still working for you.
Gotcha.
It's still something that you got. So let's add those up. Now we got 64,225. This is called throw off. This is the total amount of money this project's going to throw off on a yearly basis on year one. So when we take that and we divide that by 514,000, it's going to give us 12.5%. So that's a total throw off number that you will get. year over year over year. Hopefully your rents will always increase to cover your expenses plus a little bit more. Obviously, if it's making a 6% up here on your return on investment, if you did cash on cash and leveraged it, that would go up 1.5%, maybe 2%, it would go up.
Because of the 5%.
So it would bring it up at 7, and then from there, you'd still be in good shape. That's the only equation that we're not throwing into this number. We would have a principal reduction number there, probably of $5,000 a year, the first year, something like that. That would add to that number there, but your investment would be a lot less also. So actually, if that was the case, it would be huge. So you want to just do it?
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to cash flow if you were financing.
So the only difference we have here, so let's look at that. So we are right now at $33,740, right? $33,740 cash flow, okay? We're not gonna add any more expenses in there because there's no expenses to add, but I do wanna add in there a calculation. Nick, if we're at 514, and let's multiply that times 20%. So let's say we put $100,000, it shows up 102, I'm just gonna do 100,000.
One more
We're
zero.
gonna put $100,000 down on down payment, okay?
One more zero.
I was using my D as a zero. So we're putting $100,000 down on that right there. So let's see what the note would be on that. So we're looking at a note of $414,000, right?
514.
No, not if we put $100,000 down on it.
Gotcha, yeah, you're right.
So we're gonna say 514,000. Oh, I'm sorry, 414,000. So 414,000, and that's gonna be our loan amount, okay? We're gonna say, right now interest rates are 8%, 8.5% if you're an investor trying to invest. So I'm gonna use that 8.5. And I know that because I just got a loan the other day for 8.5% interest. So that's our interest. We're going to put on a 30-year term. Our payment will be $31.83. I need to do it by the month. $31.83 times 12. That equals $38,196.
Last time we made 39.
So where's that put us at?
We're negative. Hardcore.
We'll put a note on it. We're at a negative $4,400 on cash flow. I'm not going to manipulate any numbers. We're not going to change anything. We're going to go with this. We are going into this deal negative cash flow. You're from California. California is a state that runs negative cash flow for the most part.
Really?
Yeah, it's very hard to cash flow a property, but the appreciation is 20%.
Wow.
You get some great appreciation. So people are sacrificing the cash flow for appreciation. Now, if you sacrifice your cash flow for appreciation, and you do a cash out refi every 5 years. You don't make any money for that house for 5 years, but at the end of that 5 years, you can pull out a couple $100,000, move on with it, and that's the way it works. So with that being said, we got that number. So our appreciation number was what? 26,000 on appreciation and 4,400 on the other one. 26,000 appreciation, 4,485, 4,485 for depreciation. Now we need to do principal reduction. So all we do is take on our calculator. We hit this little button right here. That'll tell us right there that the principal reduction in the first year is $3,128.
Perfect.
$3,128. So now, how much money do we make? So we got the negative 4456, and we're going to go plus 26,000 plus 44 plus 3128. So I don't have an answer as to where we're going to end up on this, but my question is, do you think we'll end up with a better return or a worse return?
Well, I think we'd end up with a worse return just because, we are financing it and that is eating up.
So we had a 6% return up top, right?
6.5.
6.5% up top. We got 29,000. So we're going to divide that by what?
Oh, that's including the appreciation, depreciation. We had a 12.5.
Huh?
We had a 12.5 return on when we were including the appreciation, depreciation.
12.5. So we're going to take 29,157.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to divide that by 100,000.
Because we only put in 100K, not 514K.
So we are at a 29% return. Throw off.
So it's better.
It's always
to
better.
Finance.
It's not always better, but most of the time it's better. Let's say you went out and you took that, you got 12.5% when you pay all cash for it. Now we take that exact same deal, we leverage $100,000. So how many times can we leverage that $100,000 if you got $500,000 already?
5 times.
Okay, so now we can take this number, we can multiply that right there times 5. What's that gonna give us? If we buy 5 of the exact same deals, right?
5 of the exact same deals.
So that's gonna put us at 145. That's gonna put us at 145,785 a year, or divide that by 500. Y'all see me moving the numbers a little bit where it's 514 before 500. We're just doing this for an illustration. That's giving us 29% across the board on the whole 500,000. But we're making off of the same 500 that we can make 12% a minute ago, now we can make 29% on it, leveraging across the things. And that percentage is going to go up every year because appreciation compounds, cash flow continues to go up, principal reduction goes up every time too.
I mean, that 145 will turn into 155, 165, 175 a year just in the next 2-3 years.
Yeah. So now you're making 29% in return on that investment right there. That's the power of leverage. I said the house numbers when we first looked at it, I said that don't work. You're saying we can get the 3,300 for rent.
I would say so. I mean,
so if you can get the 3,300 for rent, this deal, it works.
Yeah.
Now, it don't work for me. I'm not investing at 29%. I'm just not.
And you finance a lot of deals because obviously we just did this, and like when you finance, you use less of your own and then still pull off the same numbers, but even 29%. You don't use all cash for buying places very often. You still finance even though you have the cash.
I'm leveraged 23% right now. So we're not leveraged a lot. Now that number is going to change because I'm going through this divorce, so I'll be splitting some assets, and I'm sure I will not be splitting any debt. So I will lose some assets, but I probably will not lose any debt.
So 70%.
So that 23 is going to go up, and then I'll have to buy some more properties and fix it.
So 77% of your portfolio is 100% paid off or bought in all cash on your end.
Yes.
There's only 23% of your portfolio that's still being financed.
Yes. If you can make a 29% number, I think most of the world would chew their arm off to make that kind of money. I mean, that's a lot of freaking money.
I mean, if that happens in the stock market, that's the only year it'll do that.
But as we educate ourselves more and more and more, and we understand these numbers more and more and more, we found ways to manipulate these numbers so our profits look amazing. I mean, we can do that. Now, all of that is a play. I mean, like the neighborhoods that we bought, they're not worth any more today, really, than when I bought them. But I got a 5-year goal on those to make them worth more money. It's not right here, right now. So, it's a different play.
Are you financing the construction to rehab those places? Is that helping you?
We have done financing on that, yes. Not through that project. I've actually borrowed my money off of other projects that I already have. So I didn't borrow any more money on that neighborhood or anything.
Okay. Why only 23%? Why not more? Why is financing riskier? Why does that put you on edge?
It is where's your mindset? My mindset is I don't want the stress of tremendous amounts of debt. And even at 23%, I mean, do we get stressed sometimes? I get stressed sometimes, but I get stressed because I spend a lot of money rehabbing and investing into the properties we have. So we buy a property and then we do it. We build and use all our cash. I mean, probably the way I do my business is not the way most people that's watching this video would do their business or want to do their business. They would finance it and then they let that one property just cover it. We got enough properties. We work them all. We work all of them.
Is one big organism.
Somewhat not together because they're all separate.
Things cover things. And
yeah, we just keep investing and keep turning the money.
But the major risk is anything goes wrong with a financed property, you lose the entire property, you lose the initial investment of the $100K.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at another world war maybe coming in our country. I don't know, but let's say we do. We get World War III come in. It's going to hurt things for a little while. All that stuff just affects everything. So I don't know what's coming up. I don't know what's on the turnpike. I don't know.
Having a portfolio that's 90%.
Oh, we're going to have another leverage. COVID come up right before this election, or we're going to have something that happens with that. I don't know. We want to make sure, worst case scenario, I'm okay. Now, if I was your age, if I was in my mid-20s, I would leverage as much as I could leverage. And I would probably do that till I was 40. And then I would say, you know what? Now it's time to back off a little bit, get that stress off of me a little bit, make it run a little bit smoother, and turn it and go with it. I want everybody watching this video just to understand. Run those numbers, change things in it, look at it, play with it. What can you do? And then whenever you don't like the numbers, think, okay, what can I do differently then? How can I make this? You don't want to force a deal to work, but you do want to think outside the box and say, can I do something a little bit different? Now, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about maybe taking one of our properties down the road and just building a swimming pool on it and renting the swimming pool out, just a pool with a pool house. So we got bathroom facility and stuff, and they're renting those for $500 a day or $700 a day, $500 a day, just a pool. What I was looking at said I can build it and then I can take and I would put an enclosure on it, like a a glass enclosure so it works like a hothouse, because here we don't have a lot of time. I mean, you really can't start getting in a pool till like May unless you're heating it. Heating it costs a lot of money. So if I can enclose it, then I can probably start using that pool. Actually, you can probably use the pool year round pretty much, pretty close. And that would be that could be a big deal in the wintertime, you know, to build something like that where people could actually use it.
And that would increase the value.
Yeah, yeah. But there's you just got to look at what can I do different that might make money. I don't know.
Adding little features.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go look at that house, right?
Yes, we're gonna go look at it.
Okay.
So tell them follow us on IG.
So
TikTok.
we're gonna break all this down. If you wanna follow us on Instagram and TikTok, we give this in short forms. We'll boost it out on
We're gonna give what
on
we
YouTube.
do out there.
Yeah. So we're gonna go out in the field. We're gonna break it down. So as we break it all down, watch the different videos. But those will show up on Instagram. They'll show up on TikTok. Like us, follow us, send some people our way. We appreciate it.
Sweet.
Y'all have a great day.